Kung kayo po ay may edad na o mayroong ibang sakit o karamdaman, mas madaling kayong mahawahan ng virus na ito. Kaya para maiwasan ito, lagi at madalas kayong maghugas ng kamay o gumamit ng hand sanitizer. Huwag lumabas ng bahay maliban na lang kung bibili ng pagkain, gamot o makipagkita sa doktor. Kung lalabas kayo, lumakayo ng 6 na pie mula sa taong katabi nyo. Ito ang tinatawag na social distancing. Iwasan ang mga taong may sakit o karamdaman. Gumawa kayo ng plano. Tulad ng tanongin niyo sa sarili niyo, sino ang maaaring tumulong sa inyo kung kayo ay magkasakit? Meron ba kayong sapat na gamot at pagkain sa bahay? So huwag kalimutang magsuot ng face mask kapag nasa labas ng bahay o kung may kausap na ibang tao. Kung kailangan pa ninyo ng ibang impormasyon, tawagan lamang ang Seattle King County Public Health sa teleponong 206-477-3977.
This is the Rainier Avenue Radio World community update on free, unlimited family streaming services that you can access with your King County Library card. Enjoy quality educational content on Canopy.com like Sesame Street, Arthur, and language learning. Unlimited access will be available for the next 30 days at kcls.kanopy.com. That's kcls.canopy.com.
This is Big Poppy, host of Jazz from the Cabinets. Join me each week for a listening tour of the first century of jazz, an eclectic mix of Dixieland, big band, cool jazz, bebop, contemporary jazz, world jazz, all jazz in all forms. That's Jazz from the Cabinets with Big Poppy on Rainier Avenue Radio, streaming worldwide on RainierAvenueRadio.world.
Sergio LaCour's Love Lines is on Rainier Avenue Radio.world. Thursday nights at midnight Eastern, 9 p.m. Pacific. Music and dedications for the grown and sexy.
You know you can't get enough of Rainier Avenue Radio.world.
Can't get enough of that. Can't get enough of that.
Welcome to Real Estate and Money, a half-hour program on Rainier Avenue Radio.world designed to help you whether you're a buyer, seller, investor, or renter in real estate. Your hosts are two local professionals who will escort you on your journey. Violeta Strash, who has years of media advertising and marketing experience and brings this extensive knowledge to John L. Scott Real Estate and all our clients. And Tina Lombard, who is a mortgage loan originator with Cardinal Financial with over 28 years of experience. And now here's Violeta and Tina.
And Elsie, how are you doing? Oh, everybody, thank you so much for joining us today. It is so good to see you. You know, we're getting closer and closer to summer, so we're excited about that. Violeta's on vacation, but we have with us today Elsie. Elsie actually was 1/3 of our show, and she is stepping in for Violeta today. So, Elsie, hello.
Hi there. Thank you for having me.
Yes. So, but before we get started, everybody, we want to make sure you tell your friends and family members if they're sitting around to go ahead and give us a call or dial in to us live right now so we can help answer some of their home buying questions. And at the top of every show, we go ahead and tell everybody about the market. So Elsie is going to give us a much needed real estate update.
All right. So let's talk about the week of May 18th through the 24th. Let's start off with King County. And in King County, we have active 678 homes at the average price of $1,113,000. We've sold 673 homes at the average price of $1,126,000. And in 2020, we've sold 465 homes at the average price of $786,000, which gives us a huge increase of 43% from last year to this year. That's huge. All right, let's move on to Pierce County. And in Pierce County, we have active 248 homes at the average price of $602,000. We've sold 319 homes at the average price of $583,000. And in 2020, we've sold 248 homes at the average price of $449,000. And that gives us an increase of 30%. And in Snohomish County, we have active 272 homes at the average price of $732,000. We have sold 258 homes at the average price of $757,000. And in 2020, we've sold 189 homes at the average price of $566,000. Now that gives us an increase of 34%. So we're still in the double digits. I've never seen it to be 43%, especially in King County, and that's actually the largest that I've seen.
Yes, it's so funny how people keep thinking that the market's going to crash, the market's going to disappear, and it's I waited a whole year to sell my property, and I thought this is going to be the top of the game, and that was like 2 years ago, and it has just been going 30% past what I thought. I sold it at. I thought it was high.
Yes.
So we're all finding that out now. What are you seeing down where you're at, Elsie?
It's still pretty hot. It's a hot market.
Mm-hmm.
I think, though, now that things are starting to open up and the CDC has said, like if you're vaccinated, you don't have to wear a mask. Travel's a lot more open now. I think that things are starting to slow down just a little bit. However, bidding wars are not over. Inventory is still pretty low. So we still got towards the summer.
Yes. Yeah, it's something because I know the rates actually shot extremely low. And then back at the end of January and mid of February, they started shooting up like a skyrocket. And now they're coming back. They went up and now they're floating back down kind of like this.
Mm-hmm.
And you're right, Elsie. It's like what's being picked up is that because the rates went higher, people are slowing down. Mm-hmm. Because they were slowing down, a lot more offers were able to get to the table and people are being able to make offers that are received.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
So
still multiple offers are happening. However, it's not like the crazy 20 offers, that each home is having. At least from my experience, it hasn't been. However, the amounts are still up there, though. They're still over 50 to like over 100,000 over.
Yes, and what something is, before December, the rates went low. In the mortgage world, we have a lot of people who we call looky-loos, and I'm sure that you have those too. And you get them qualified for a dollar amount, let's say $380,000, or maybe even $450,000. And some people aren't as serious. On a scale of 1 to 10, maybe they're a 6, maybe they're a 7. And because of the competitiveness, and because of people having to have a lot of money to close, a lot of the loose feathers were shaken from the tree. So there were a lot of people putting offers on houses that weren't really serious.
Yeah.
I had a person at 4.5 months. My poor realtor was taking them out to look at homes. They finally got an offer on a house they loved, and the husband said, I think I'll pass. And we're like, So those people have kind of cleared the way. If you were looky-loos or you're like a 1 to 7, those people are no longer in the market kind of muddying the waters, so to speak. Those who are left standing are the ones who are serious. They have their money saved. They got their credit in order, verifications in place. And when they get that offer, they're going to pounce and they're not going to play games. So
absolutely.
That's what I'm seeing.
Yes. That's an absolute true statement.
And what I'm finding out now, so what we're doing is we're going into the season where taxes were due last week. And if one of those people, last minute people like me, you should have either received your refund, your tax refund, or you're expecting to receive your tax refund in the next several weeks. So what do you do with that tax refund? We're going to talk about that today. Now, before I get started, I want to reference to a biblical story that has always been in my mind. There's a biblical story about a wealthy merchant, and he gave his 3 servants each the same amount of money and said, go do something with it. The first servant went out and spent his money like crazy, just spent it all, like there was no tomorrow. Came back with nothing. The second servant dug a hole, put the money in it, covered it up. He came back with the same amount of money. The third servant went out, took that money and invested in businesses and multiplied the money and came back with a whole stack of money and said, look what I've done with your money. Now, I looked at my life and I compared to the person in the middle where I used to just take my money, put it in a hole, cover it up, and now COVID actually, and seeing the things that people have been going through in life and the health issues a lot of my friends have experienced, or my loved ones who have passed away, I have now dug that hole up. And now I have now I have forced myself to become servant number 3, where I take that money and I'm going to invest it, and I'm going to spend it, I'm going to invest it, and make sure I bring that positive money. So right now, what we're going to talk about today is how to be the type of person that takes that tax refund and not just blow it all on Jamaica. Actually, don't put it in the ground and bury it, but to actually take that money and make it so that it's fruitful for you, either by refinancing your home, buying a new property, putting some repairs in the property. That is what we're going to talk about today, is how to best make use of your tax return.
Awesome. All right.
So Elsie, tell me what you, as a realtor, what would you suggest to your clients who have got a large chunk of money being refunded to them? What's the first thing that comes to mind that you point them in the right direction?
Ooh, I would. Well, I guess let's come up with an amount and then maybe talk about that. So let's say I had $10,000. That's a large refund, actually. But let's say I've been saving right through the whole COVID, and I've got $10,000 to save to spend. And what would I do with that? Oh, that's a great question. I would say if you could, start investing in real estate. And I think when people think about real estate, they think about their first home that they're purchasing. When really it could be an investment property. It could be as small as like getting a mobile home and getting a renter in there, or a condo and getting a renter in there. But just start to build some wealth somewhere.
That's exactly it. And as a loan officer, I see a lot of people's bank statements. And usually it's between $6,000 to $8,000 in a household. Plus, a lot of people this year got a stimulus package.
Yes.
So a lot of them are using that stimulus package plus their tax refund. And they have a sizable amount of money to make a difference on whether they buy or sell.
Yes, absolutely.
So, a lot of people, when they get their money, they're like, okay, what do I do to verify it? Well, a lot of times if you get that money in your account, like it's $66,780, take that money and put it in a savings account immediately. Set it aside. A lot of times us as lenders, we look for 60 days worth of seasoning. We want to make sure that money has been yours for 60 days. So take it. Don't start switching around and doing all types of funny stuff with it. Take that IRS automatic deposit, put it into a savings account, and just don't touch it and leave it alone. And what we're finding is, there are some people who do qualify for down payment assistance, but down payment assistance is just that. It's down payment assistance. It's not down payment, closing costs. There's zero to bring to. What we find is a lot of people don't realize you need to pay for the inspection up front. And that's about how much, Elsie, on your side?
According to our inspector, is about $350 to $400.
And then the appraisal is something that we have to ask for up front. That's about $600-700. So that's $1,000 off the bat. If you go for down payment assistance, they usually charge you 1 point up front and they give you 4 points on the back. So when everything is said and done, you have to bring at least a point to closing. So if you've got a $500,000 loan and you're doing down payment assistance, you can count on bringing about $5,000 to close. So if you got $5,000 to close and you got another $1,000, that you're going to have to spend on inspection and appraisal, that refund actually is going to be a big difference.
Yes. Let's talk a little bit more about that, because that's really important. When you say, people think that just because they get down payment assistance doesn't necessarily mean that they have, they're bringing zero to the table. Because I think that's really, it has to get into people's heads, because they're like, I'm interested in purchasing a home, well, how much do you have? About $2,000. Yeah. And that's not really,
that's
enough.
Not gonna cut it.
No.
That's not going to cut it. And just as a rule of thumb for my realtor friends out there, and for somebody who's looking for a home for the first time, you need to put at least 1 point or 1% down just for earnest money up front.
Yes.
Is that what you usually say, Elsie?
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
So tell them really quick what earnest money is.
So earnest money is basically a deposit, and it's showing to the sellers that you are able to purchase a home by putting a 1% deposit into it. Now, the deposit is usually held by a third party, which is a closing agent, which we refer to as the escrow company. So you make that deposit, and then at the end there, that gets subtracted, or it gets credited to the closing cost. So am I saying that right? Not necessarily to the closing cost, but it gets deducted from the closing cost, that deposit does.
That is absolutely correct. So just depending, I mean, some people put down, if about a $500,000 home, they'll put down $5,000. I've had clients on a $1.2 million home, they put down $150,000. They put a whole 10% down because they want to make sure that everybody knows that they're serious.
Correct. Yeah, and in our market today, there's a lot more. It's way higher than your typical 1%, just because what you want to do is show the sellers that you are serious about it and that you do have the ability to close on the property.
Right. So let's go back to our first comment. Let's say that you do qualify for $450,000, and like you tell Elsie, you tell myself, I have $2,000 in my account. Right there, you stop. Stop. It's not happening. Okay, it's not. And it's something, I don't know if you get clients like that. They're like, well, my lender said I qualify for $450,000 and all this stuff, and I don't have enough money. Can I find another lender? That's like, no, it's not your problem.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Yeah. And I think we're at the half point. So let's do our ads.
Tune in to Real Estate and Money every Tuesday afternoon from 2:30 to 3 here on Rainier Avenue Radio.world. Join your hosts, Violeta Strash with John L. Scott Kent North and Tina Lombard, who is a mortgage loan originator with Cardinal Financial. They'll help you navigate the waters of our volatile real estate market and offer you some guidance on how to make your hard-earned money work to make your dreams come true. Learn about current trends, get tips on financial matters, and have fun, interactive discussions about your home inside and out. That's Real Estate and Money.
Great. I was trying to look. There's some kind of buzzing going on, so I'm not sure what that is. But really quick though. So we go back to this. I had a client, LC, the other day. I had a realtor friend. She was telling me that her client came to her and said, when I buy this house, are you willing to give it 1% of your commission to go towards my closing costs?
She asked you that, or the realtor? The realtor, right?
What's that?
She asked the realtor that.
Yes.
And what was her response?
The response was 4 paragraphs on Facebook.
Oh,
like, are you out of your mind? Well, you know what? If a realtor out of their heart says, yeah, I can help you with that. Okay, that's one thing. But to say my realtor friend over here says she's going to give me 1%. Are you going to give me 1%? Come on now. I mean,
right.
No. I mean, are you going to go to your heart surgeon and say, I know it's going to cost $50,000 to go to you for a transplant. My friend over here said he'll do it for $25,000. You know what I mean, you're talking life and death here.
Right.
And so if a client comes to you, or if you're a client and you say, well, let me get my realtor to pay for some of this. Absolutely no way. That is not qualifying. I told my friend, run from that client, because it's a $350,000 home. If they ask you for 1%, they don't have the money to buy a home, and they don't have the money to make for any payments. Am I right?
Absolutely. Yes. Now there are people that like to wheel and deal, and it's like, hey, what harm do I have in asking? And I try to explain to them, it's not really in the, hey, you make an offer, you get it accepted. That's not really where my job starts. My job starts after, we get the offer accepted. And then I have to make sure that you meet those timelines, and I have to negotiate on your behalf. And that's really where the work starts. And I think a lot of consumers don't really realize that. They just think that, okay, so here's a timeline. If I hit all those, then that's fine. However, what happens when you come across, the inspection and you have to negotiate, right, with the seller at that point, or an inspection and it doesn't appraise? The appraisal and it doesn't appraise. So that's really where the value of a real estate broker is, in the negotiation during the transaction.
That is correct. A good broker can change you. Could save you thousands and thousands of dollars. So I wouldn't do that. I would never ask if your realtor offers something to you, that's something, but don't demand that, because that is just not called for.
Right. Yeah. Typically that's not customary. And I know that a lot of people from other countries, that's their custom, right, to ask for a discount. And except for here in America. Yeah. So, I'm not really sure, but, sure, you could ask. However, it depends on the agent and how they respond to it and how much they value their service and what they're offering, the client.
And then a lot of times sometimes I get realtors, not so much anymore. They'll turn around and say, "Hey, will you pay for the closing costs out of your commission?" And I'm like, "Okay, that's a kickback. That's legally, no, So the thing is, you want to be qualified up front. If you're asking for the people who you're paying to do your loan, if you're asking them for money, then that's the sure sign for you is you're not qualified right now to buy a house on your own. It is a matter of qualification. If you have the ability to save 2 or 3% or even 20% on your own, that tells an underwriter that you are able to qualify and handle your business and actually have a loan. Now, Elsie brought up a subject that I thought we were going to talk about today, but I rambled. But we're going to talk about the appraisal and the appraisal gap. So what's going on is the market is so hot that if you put an offer on a $630,000 home, by the time the weekend is over, that $630,000 went to $680,000 very quickly. Now, the house may not be able to be appraised at $380,000. It may only appraise at $350,000. Now you have a $30,000 difference between the purchase price and what the appraised value is.
Yes.
Now, lenders only lend on the purchase price or their appraised value, whichever is higher. Lower, right? So there's a gap between $650,000 and $680,000. That's $30,000. So we were talking about if you do have refund money coming back, that may be a good fair amount of money for you to put aside in case there is an appraisal gap that you're going to have to suffice.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. And that is exactly what we're looking at today is that appraisal gap, especially from the beginning of this year till now. We talked about the values or offers going for $100,000 more than the asking price. Yet, how do I know as a seller that you are able to purchase that property for $100,000 more, right? And so what we do is we have a form. It's called a Form 2280, and it's titled Increased Down Payment for Low Appraisals. And I had a client. He was qualified for a VA loan. However, he had some money set aside that he wanted to use as a down payment. So I said, okay, well, let me talk with the listing broker. And the listing broker had said, hey, there's a lot of interest in this property. We're probably going to get multiple offers. And so I went back to my buyer, and I said, okay, buyer, hey, let's go ahead and use this 22AD form. And in doing that, what we did is we leveraged to $27,000. And our offer, so the scenario goes as this. The home was listed for $320,000. My client said, I'm willing to pay up to $375,000. So let's start off at the $375,000. However, I'd like to escalate it up to $391,000. And I'm like, okay, sure. And so what I did was use that $27,000 and put that on a Form 22AD, stating that if the appraisal came in lower than the $391,000 or the $370,000, then we could then put that money back into the offer. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so luckily though, it appraised. And so my client, the sellers chose his offer. It escalated up to the $391,000. So that was his max that he bought. And it did appraise at that value. So that $27,000 was returned back, or actually it wasn't returned, but it was untouched at that point. So, and that's outside of any kind of closing costs or any kind of down payment.
Yes.
Now with the VA, it's zero down, but he still had closing costs to cover.
Yes. So I'm glad you brought that up, because so now you've got the appraisal gap you have to account for. The lender already told you have to bring your 3% down or whatever it is, plus your closing costs. And now you have to bring, let's say, $48,000 to closing. But now you've got the appraisal gap, which may be $50,000.
Right.
So that means you need to bring your 48 plus another $50,000.
Yes. However, so people are waiving this on their forms, appraisal forms, right? So if they're waiving it, then yes, that means that they would have to cover the whole gap. Now, if they say that it is, the appraisal is not, they're not waiving it, then that could be negotiated with the seller. So in the way that we would negotiate that is we go back to the seller and we say, hey, seller, it didn't appraise. Could we take it down to the appraisal value? And in this market, the seller will say, maybe not. How about we meet halfway? So instead of $30,000, I could come up 15, and then you would have to come up with a 15,000.
Right.
Or worst case scenario is that the seller just refuses to do it and says, hey, I'm going to put it back on the market.
Mm-hmm. Right. And that is a risk you have to take. And you're right. I mean, maybe the seller wants to get rid of the property. Maybe the property is in a state of condition where the seller's like, I'm not fixing anything. Look, well, yeah, I'll just lower the purchase price.
Right.
So it really depends. And this is where having a good realtor on your side comes into play, because a good realtor can make a case.
Absolutely. This is why you pay them. This is why they get paid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you paid them good money. A good realtor will say, hey, I know that you can get $50,000 more, but the truth of the matter is you've got $35,000 worth of repair that you need to do in this property. Do you really want to stretch out? Your client needs to move to Florida next week. So is it really worth it for you? And so you negotiate. So it really makes sense to have a real good realtor and to have enough money prepared.
Yes. Your realtor will work for you and will negotiate on your behalf. That's why you're hiring them.
And, I want to say, too, for those people who are looking to make a move in real estate and you have been hesitant because it is very competitive, if you have a good score, if you have a good sizable down payment, you are rock steady. You actually can own the market right now. You can go out there and buy whatever you want to buy, because there are a lot of people who are looky-looing, they're playing around, and the cream will rise to the top right now. If you are looking to buy and you have everything in order, you can find some real good properties out there right now while everything is going up.
Absolutely.
Yes. So Elsie, let me see. We've got a few promos that we have to talk about here. And we want to encourage everybody, if you want some more information about how to navigate through an appraisal gap or how to make your best offer on a house, please feel free to give us a call. My number is 253-332-5986. And Elsie?
206-396-3622.
Okay, so we're still celebrating Asian Heritage Month. So those of you who are out there, if you have family members that you can talk about your history to and give some reinforcement onto our plight and our American dream, this is the month that you'll have full support media-wise and everything else to do that. Now, promotion this includes the last week of the shows for the American Asian Pacific Islander Month. Let me see if we blow this up. Here we go. There is a layout of everything there for you. So you can take a look at that and get out there and celebrate with everybody. Baseball Thursday, we've got Lincoln at Cleveland. Basketball tonight, which is Tuesday, Holy Names at Rainier Beach. The girls at 5:45 and O-Day at Rainier Beach. Boys at 7:30. And R&R's live broadcast from Employment Street Fair at Bailey Gatzer Elementary today, Wednesday at 11 a.m. Okay, now the show after us is an encore presentation of R&R live jam session. So let me know what pics or videos you want to show during, or just let us know if there's anything that you want us to show on our show. If you've got any stories, if you got any questions, please reach out to us at the numbers provided here. And Elsie, do you have anything else for the good of the cause?
I don't, but thank you so much for having me on the show. I love filling in for Violeta while she's gone.
Yeah. It's just, when she comes back, we're going to be talking about stories. But you need to do another show when she comes back, because we have to talk about all her fabulous vacation pictures.
Yes. I've been watching her on Facebook.
And I think she's still trying to look for a house too.
Oh, yes. A waterfront or water view.
Waterview or waterfront. And just really quick before we leave, I think we have like 1 minute left. Elsie, give us advice on people who are looking for waterfront property. What is the best way to see that you're first in line for that?
Honestly, I would say pick a place that you would like to be, right? And start knocking doors and start, getting on Facebook and putting it out there, because I think a lot of people are getting off-market properties now. More so than just listed properties, and it prevents you from getting that property bid up.
Okay, and when you say off-market properties, what are you talking about? Oh, there's V.
There she is. Hey. So off-market properties are properties that you're finding not on the market, not on the MLS. So off-market, from a friend of a friend or a neighbor, knowing that so-and-so is looking to move.
Right. Okay. Well, so there you have it, everyone. Thank you for joining us, Elsie. Thank you so much for standing in. And we hope to talk to everybody, each and every one of you. Have a great week. We'll talk to you soon.
Alrighty, bye now.
You've been listening to Real Estate and Money with your hosts, Violeta, Strash, and Tina Lombard. For more information, call 206-717-4490. That's 206-717-4490. Go to the Rainier Avenue Radio.world website to find the Real Estate and Money schedule, or tune in to our live show every Tuesday afternoon from 2:30 to 3. We will help you find your dream home.